This is insane because we have never seen this before. Sidney Crosby did something that no other player in NHL history has ever done, despite the Pittsburgh Penguins as a team being embarrassed yet again last night against the Buffalo Sabres. But it was a historic night for the Sidney Crosby, one of the greatest players in NHL history, continuing to cement his legacy and do things no one has ever done and we as fans have never seen before. In NHL history, nobody did what Sidney Crosby just did. We're going to talk all about it here on Penguins Digest today. But before I get into it, I'm going to ask you for a favor. Subscribe to the channel, Penguins Digest. We're trying to get to 1,500 subscribers by the end of the month, and we're getting closer. But hit that sub button. Help us get there. Help us reach our goal. We have the latest Pittsburgh Penguins news, rumors, updates, and analysis here on Penguins Digest, and today it is Sidney Crosby that we have to talk about because Crosby is the captain of consistency. Let's give him his crown, the crown that he has always deserved but officially earned last night against the Buffalo Sabres, taking that record from Wayne Gretzky for the most point-per-game seasons in NHL history. The great one did it 19 times in 20 NHL seasons. Sidney Crosby just did it for the 20th straight season. 20 seasons of a point per game. That is a model of consistency. And Wayne Gretzky's record, this one in particular, was one we never expected to be broken in hockey history, but Sidney Crosby managed to do it by scoring a goal in the first period, and get this, it happened at 11:11 in the first period, so it doesn't get more crazy than that. But Alex Ovechkin has been in pursuit of Wayne Gretzky's all-time goals record this season. That has been getting most of the media attention. Understandably so, because scoring goals is one of the most important things you can do in hockey, but Sidney Crosby breaking this record, 20 straight seasons, averaging a point per game. That is something special and something that we need to celebrate and at the very least talk about here on Penguins Digest, because Crosby, being a model of consistency for his entire NHL career, now he has the record to prove it. A record that may never be touched again because Sidney Crosby is not done yet. He scored this goal by kicking the puck to his stick from his skate and roofing it over James Reimer's shoulder to break Wayne Gretzky's record in Buffalo last night. Unbelievable goal by Sidney Crosby and an unbelievable record to have. It was one of the few bright spots in the Penguins' 7-3 drubbing that they suffered against the Buffalo Sabres. Speaking with reporters after the game, Crosby said it was hard to appreciate the accomplishment because of the lackluster performance overall, and losing the game hurt. So Sidney Crosby was not allowed to be as excited as he should have been able to be because the Penguins did not even put up a fight last night against the Buffalo Sabres. And Sid said after the game, breaking the record but losing 7-3, it's probably hard right now after a loss like that. I just think there are a lot of guys who have contributed to that. So I'm thankful for the guys I played with who have contributed to it. It's a special milestone, but obviously I'd rather win. And that's how Sidney Crosby has always felt. He'd rather win games than set individual records. That's just the type of guy he is, and I completely understand. But Sid, you still got the crown, buddy. His season has been spectacular at 37 years old. That's 80 points now in 72 games for Sid the Kid, and 20 straight seasons at a point per game. Ladies and gentlemen, this is still unfathomable for me. And just to show you how unfathomable it really is, this is Sidney Crosby's career right here. That right there is every season that Sidney Crosby has ever played in the NHL. Every single one of them, he has scored a point per game for 20 years in a row. I don't think we're understanding how crazy this is. This should never have been possible, ever. Ever. No one should have ever been able to have 20 seasons in a row scoring at least a point per game. I mean, the NHL is not set up this way. It's a hard league. It is the hardest league for professional hockey in the entire world. And Sidney Crosby is out there just dominating. And that's quite literally what he has done since his rookie year. And his best season was 120 points back in 2006, 2007 as a 19-year-old. But yes, a model of consistency nevertheless. 1,676 career points in the great career of Sidney Crosby. And let's hear more from Sidney Crosby, because they asked him a ton of questions all month waiting for him to break this record. And we go all the way back to March 17th when he talked to NHL.com. He said, consistency and work ethic and passion. It's a responsibility that you have to each other, referring to his teammates. I think that consistency is always a work in progress. Every day is not perfect. There are times that are more difficult than others during the year. I always try to keep that in mind. But that doesn't mean you're not going to have bad days or days where you're not your best. But you try not to let them bunch together. That is what he said, and that is how he has stayed consistent for so long, because he doesn't let the bad days get to him. He brushes them off, and he's on to the next one. And he does great things more often than not. And when Brian Rust was asked about Sidney Crosby, he's been playing on a line with him for how long? He's won Stanley Cups with him. He's a tremendous, special player and person. And you could see his hard work in everything. Just 20 years is a huge accomplishment and says more about him as a person than a player. Obviously, he works extremely hard and kind of knows what it takes. And there's a lot of people who can be good for 1, 2, 5 years. But to do it for that long, I think it's incredibly special. And Brian Rust, we're not going to disagree with you there, buddy. This is one of the most impressive feats that you could ever accomplish in any sport, especially the game of hockey. I like to compare it to football. Let's keep it in the city, though. Let's keep it with Pittsburgh. Let's keep it with Mike Tomlin, head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. All these seasons in a row, consistent winning seasons, but not able to win in the playoffs. So does it really mean anything when you win every year consistently, but you don't win in the playoffs? I am sure that Mike Tomlin would trade that record of winning seasons for another Super Bowl ring, just like Sidney Crosby would trade this record for most point per game seasons for another Stanley Cup, because we're talking about these unselfish individuals, these guys that care more about the team than the actual accolades. The individual awards mean nothing because they want the team to succeed. They want everybody to revel, to share this success that they have had. They don't want the individual awards. They want the team to succeed. And that's what makes Sidney Crosby different. And when Mike Sullivan was asked about Sidney Crosby passing Gretzky's record, he said it's remarkable. He's in such a rare company where he is right now with every milestone that he crosses. It just puts him in more elite company than he's already in. So I just think when you think in terms of 20 seasons in a row with such consistency, it's an amazing accomplishment. It doesn't surprise me because I know how hard he works and how hard he trains. And he controls everything within his power to set himself up for success and ultimately the team. I said this so many occasions, just his passion for the game and his willingness to put the work in to continue to be at his best. It's just remarkable. And the last thing that we'll cover today is Sidney Crosby's parents were in attendance for this game. So Crosby was asked about his parents being there to watch him break the record. He said, I mean, it's one of those things where they sacrificed a lot and supported you all these years. It's nice to have different moments with them. And I've been fortunate. They've been to a lot of different games and memories and events and things like that. Nice to have them here tonight. And obviously the only way that that game could have gone any better for the Penguins, for Sid, for his parents, was a W. And the Penguins have not been able to get many of those. So, unfortunately, a loss to the Sabres. But on the bright side, Sidney Crosby breaking more records, continuing to cement himself as one of the greatest hockey players ever to live. And we have been privileged enough to watch him all these years. Over 20 years I've been a fan of this team. I've watched Sidney Crosby play for 20 seasons, and every single year, we can all say this, he's had a point per game average. Unbelievable. The king of consistency. No one will ever touch this record. I'm just going to tell you guys right now, no one will ever touch this record. And I would not be surprised if Sid adds to that number because he is not done. At 37, he still looks very good, very fresh. He might make it 22, 23, 24 by the time it's all said and done. By the time Sidney Crosby hangs up the skates. So congratulations, Sid, on another milestone, on another record, breaking the great ones record for point per game seasons. That'll do it for this episode of Penguins Digest. Thank you guys for watching. Hit that sub button if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.